Before we jump in, a quick disclaimer. The pill communities can get pretty extreme, and while the ideas themselves aren't automatically toxic, the loudest voices often are, and it's easy to get pulled in. I don't see any of the pills as inherently negative or misogynistic, but more on that later. So the topic of happiness is very important to me, and it's something I eventually discuss with almost everyone I meet. And as I've been going through life and talking to different people, I started noticing an extremely common pattern. What I spotted is that generally, people who seem happier, who say they're happier, they're all kinda blue-pilled to a certain extent. Maybe not in all areas of life, but definitely some. And for the sake of this video, let's define taking blue pill as living in some kind of illusion or not being fully aware of all the intricate details of whatever we're talking about. I mean, the most discussed topic in this context is dating, of course, but the same idea of pills could be applied to anything in life. You know, career, friendships, politics, you name it. And all the other pills represent some kind of awakening and understanding the unpleasant reality of the situation. And there are many pills: red pill, black pill, purple pill, and more, but again, for the sake of this video I will often group them together because they all preach that they know the actual truth, the truth is unsettling, and they've got their own way of dealing with it. How they go about it is of course different, but for the most part is not relevant. All in all, we could say that every pill, and even the blue one, represents some kind of ideology, comes with its own set of beliefs, and thinks that all the other pills are just chatting shit. But the blue pill is kinda unique in a way, cause a lot of its beliefs come from accepting common narratives, such as confidence is key, just be yourself, work hard and you will make it, things like that. And what I noticed is, people who normally call themselves happy seem to believe at least some of these narratives in at least some areas of life. So the first thing that comes to my mind is the survivorship bias, you know, where if you're someone who never struggled with dating, maybe you're just popular among girls, or you were lucky enough to meet the special one and be with her for 15 years and counting, chances are you're not gonna be spending a lot of your time on researching why dating is fucked. And you are unlikely to come across the importance of hairline, jawline, height in dating, and therefore their impact on how people treat you in general, and how that often can even potentially affect your income. And so next time you don't get a promotion, you think you need to work harder instead of spiraling into depression because you believe that no one wants to see a 5'1" guy in a leadership position. And the thing is, both can be true. You might never get a promotion at that company because you're too short, because you're being discriminated against based on your height. And at the same time, you might just need to work for a year or two longer to get a bit more experience, and then you will get the new role. And a lot of pill representatives like to say that, yes, exceptions exist, but that's not the rule, that's not how the world works, that you get to enjoy the blue pill only if you're a Chad or insanely lucky. And any real-life examples that go against their idea will always have a speculation that becomes an explanation. For example, if they see a short, unattractive guy with a tall, attractive girl, their explanation will be, oh, she's with him because of money. That's the one you hear all the time. But when you choose to believe in something, then that something is more likely to occur because you're gonna pay attention to it, and whenever it happens, it will only further cement your beliefs and make it a reality for you, basically. That's how the vast majority of ideologies work, right? And the problem with all those pills is the reality they paint is often very depressing. They say the system is broken, and being blue-pilled is technically not being pilled at all, you know? The main idea is ignorance. You don't concern yourself with the broken system. You don't think about how the world is unfair. And since you don't have these beliefs, you just don't see them in real life, even if they happen. You know, in the example with the work promotion, there is no world where a black pill enjoyer doesn't get sad, because they believe that their height is the limiting factor and there is nothing they can do about it. But someone who doesn't concern themselves with how unfair the world is obviously might get sad, but at least there is a possibility that they will indeed work harder instead of giving up and get that promotion in a year or two. And regardless of whose beliefs are correct in this situation, you can't deny that a blue pill enjoyer who keeps showing up and doesn't give up on themselves by default has a better chance of succeeding in life. Because the competition, the black pill in this case, already gave up. And that would be the second reason for why quote-unquote normies are generally happier. Because even if the chance of success is so low that you equate it to an exception, someone who keeps shooting their shot regardless is just by default more likely to succeed. A 0.001% chance is better than zero. And when you stack it 1,000 times, 10,000 times, it becomes 1%, 10%, and eventually it might just work. But it's easy to say, oh, just abandon your beliefs. We all know it doesn't work like that. But at the very least, try to find something that calls to positive action. If you believe black pill is the truth and looks are the most important, fine. Research skincare, fix your diet, hydrate, find a haircut that works for you, earn some money so you can get a surgery or whatever, and if you think red pill is the way, hit the gym, learn some skills and start a business. If you make progress in those areas, it will make you happier, guaranteed. And that's what all these pills, at their core, really are about. Putting more value on certain things and going after them. And that's also what the blue pill does. It never preaches despair or resignation. It just tells you to keep trying and work harder. And I believe that for the most part, that's exactly what makes people happier. They're putting in work, they're making progress, and that progress often correlates with success in other areas of life. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. A lot of these pill communities and the manosphere in general are becoming quite radical. Of course, extremist voices are always the loudest and the media loves to exaggerate, which doesn't help. But it's easier than ever to get sucked into this cycle of hatred for the world, for women, and for everything that's unfair. In this day and age, there is a lot of negative energy as it is, and I would recommend staying away from anyone who blames a certain group of people for your problems. You can't convince me that a person can be happy and hate half the population at the same time. I mean, just Google things like red pill, manosphere, or incel, all the words that shouldn't really have negative connotations associated with them. Red pill is an ideology which says that attraction is driven by status, looks, and confidence, instead of being nice and generous. Manosphere is just a bunch of online places which focus on men's issues. Incel means not being able to get laid despite wanting to, but if I Google any of them, all I see is misogyny, manifestos, and just a bunch of hate going both ways, which isn't what any of these pills are originally about. So just be careful, it's quite easy to become miserable in these circles. But all of that said, being blue-pilled isn't easy either. The common misconception is that being unaware somehow frees you from all the downsides of the world. But arguably, blue pill takes the most amount of accountability. They rarely blame things outside their control and instead focus on what they can do. And I have a few friends whom I would call blue pilled. They also have their sad moments. They're not stupid or anything. They just stick to common beliefs and it seems to work for them. And sometimes being nice is enough to attract someone. They're not alpha, they're not jacked, they're not rich, but at the end of the day, they call themselves happy. And isn't that what the life is about anyway? Do with this information what you will. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.